everyone, welcome to the Bookover, our little book club where we talk about books, especially those that give us book hangovers. Today we are excited because we are going to be talking about Kill Song, which is a new release by Heather and Blake. And I am Sarah, and with me is Megan.
Hi.
And Heather.
Hello.
And Blake.
Hello.
And we're really excited to have these two with us to talk about the book and all of their co-writing and hopefully some extra snippets to help us survive between books.
And spoiler warning, if you haven't read the book, we are going to be talking spoilers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only a few, but no.
Usually we start off with a summary of the book, but I really want to jump into the cliffhanger and Megan and my theories. But Megan, what do you want to do?
I know we both really want to jump into the cliffhanger, but maybe we should just quickly go over what the book's about.
Okay.
Which is Vienna, who is taking up her father's mantle of killing bad people, killing very, very, very bad people, which I love. I just love it. And oh my god, just Rick Drew. I just did not see this character coming. I have never read a character like him. Like his POV. I was like, what is going on here? I did not think that was going to be the FMC, when like up against that whole beginning kind of like blew me away. And then just like a puppy dog, just like a psychotic puppy dog.
Yes.
I loved seeing how like the boss lady's like right-hand man became her right-hand man. You know what I mean? And I feel like that was the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing a great job of explaining the book. I'm just gushing now.
Yeah. You kind of want gush.
It happens. I gush.
It happens a lot. It happens a lot here.
I'm a gosh.
But I mean, that really explains the book.
That's the beginning of the book.
In my opinion, it's fresh in my head because I literally just finished it like this morning in bed.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Man, so it is very fresh.
Yes, it's very fresh for me.
She probably remembers it better than we do.
At this point, I'm sure.
So my take on it was basically with Megan, like I agree, like, Rick was I saw him as this cute little puppy and I loved how he was just okay with everything. He's just so psychotic in his ways and loyal, and that he was just like, whatever you need, like I love that she found somebody in her life that she could trust and that she could have as like a helper, because she was so I'm taking it feels like she was just so alone. And even when she had her father, they were like alone and it seemed like separate at times. So like I loved him and getting to know him. But I have to say, like, I have a very big soft spot for Fletcher.
Her little
Pincushion.
I loved his POVs. I loved the things he would say. Like about like his comment about like, where in the American Horror Story do you live? Like when he was going to the neighborhood, I was like, yes, I love this. It just described an abandoned model home area so well to me. Like I just loved it.
And sorry, one more thing about I love myself some Rick Drew. One more thing about him. I just love that he's like so possessive and that he's like, I feel like he was always looking for her, like, and he finally found the right one. Like, you know what I mean? I loved that about him. Like he had these tendencies, he was like put away for them. It makes his like kind of insta love makes sense. Like he's a possessive guy and they fit and I love it. I also love Fletcher. The name Rick Drew, I just can't get over. Like, what a name, Rick Drew. Anyways,
Okay, so
said, my favorite is Cash.
So one thing about Rick.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Would this be too spoilery? You think people will watch this?
No, keep going.
It's not spoilery if you've read it, but I remember. So I'll just, and Heather can say if we can edit it out later if we need to. We were like selecting names. Merrick.
Yeah.
I love the name Merrick. And then Merrick died. And
Mhm.
Drew was born, or sorry, Rick was born. And I was like, I am so sad that we are mourning this name. And Heather's like, I'm sorry, it just happened. And I was like, okay, just give me a minute. Like, I need to mourn the name that we had like specifically picked out for this character. And then we went on past it. But that was a conversation that Heather and I had while writing that book.
So was it not the plan then to rename him? Did that just kind of come about as you two were writing it?
Well, when we started it, we didn't plan on renaming the character midstream. No.
No, it just happened.
But Vienna doesn't think that way. So
How does Vienna think?
she's planning, always a few steps ahead. So
then, okay. So did you decide on like such like two very basic first names compared to like, Merrick, which is such a, you never hear that name ever,
Well, Rick just because it's shorter, and
Merrick,
the Drew, and then the Drew is for
her.
Well, yes, but Fletcher didn't know that.
What would happen if Fletcher, would that have not happened if Fletcher knew that?
Probably not, no.
I love how their rivalry, Fletcher and Rick's rivalry.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's
and
fun.
It is a fun one though. I mean, they're really not, like they even kind of show like it's not like they're really going to like murder each other. Not yet. There's no reason. So it's like, so that's why I love it. I love their banter, and I love how they're and I love how Rick drugged him so he would sleep. I absolutely just loved it. I was like, how he just confessed that he first, he gets him drunk, and then he drugs him so he'll sleep that night, which his reasoning was great. I agree. I mean, he needed to sleep, right? But then and then him falling asleep on the drive, and when she realizes like, oh, Rick probably drugged him, that's why he fell asleep on the drive to the storage unit. I loved that. I was like, gosh, I love how she was like, I think I need to talk to Rick about boundaries because he likes boundaries. And I was like, oh my, because I was thinking this is a great idea. Like, I need to start drugging my family. Like, I'm like, get them to go to sleep. Yes, decaf and melatonin, and kids, get them chocolate milk with some of that in there. And there we go, bedtime. But I was like, boundaries are important.
So
a little bit.
But
when we were writing, there were parts where I was asking Heather, like, is Rick doing too much? And we decided that no, that very well fit his character, and it makes sense that he would react this way. So and I can't tell you how much I giggled, like when we would pass the talk back and forth with the banter at the end. Like, I would roll around giggling at their conversations.
Oh yeah. Well, I think the part that was the funniest is that there's stuff that happens in there that you could not get away with in any other book. Because we even had one of my betas who always reads my books last before they go out. She did not like Rick at all. But she doesn't like clingy guys, and she has a history with them, so that makes sense, from a certain viewpoint. Of course, she was also like completely freaked out by the story, and I was like, it freaked you out? Because I couldn't read it when it was dark. And I'm like, I didn't think it was that bad. I laughed all the way through it. She goes, of course you would, you psycho. Like, okay, but no, apparently we got really good with our forensics. So she said we look like we could have gotten away with it. I'm going, hey, look, so when I tell people I know how to deal with the body, they need to believe me.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, before you guys joined us, we were actually talking about two of those things. We were talking about how we think we might be a little desensitized to dark because we thought that this for dark was very palatable and like not that, it was like dark, but not that dark. And then like, it was funny. And then also your detailing with like the cleanup and how Vienna, like everything that she needed to do on the road. Like, how did you guys know that? Was it a Google thing? Sarah, you mentioned like you were wondering if they listened to murder podcasts.
Yeah.
I've watched and read a lot over the last, however many years, Hush Stitchy. And I've done a couple of seminars on forensics, and I've done a couple of, our friend of mine was married to the former assistant medical examiner for Dallas County.
Oh, wow.
So I used to be able to ask him questions. I mean, I still could, I just don't bug him right now. But, and just, about different things. And one of the things, he did a whole presentation for us once on the best ways to dispose of a body and what goes faster, depending on where you are, especially like in Texas. So it's and then there's like all the murder shows that I've watched over the years. Just a little bit.
Well, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
Similar for me. It's funny because I love reading romance. Like anything romance is my jam. When I watch TV, I want the dark stuff. So this is decades of watching like murder documentaries, decades of watching like Law and Order and Criminal Minds and SVU. No, sorry, not SVU. CSI. And if you notice, we did give a little nod to Criminal Minds in the character names.
Yep.
I can see the wheels turning. Do you watch Criminal Minds?
It's been a couple years since I've seen an episode. Well, maybe like 10 years since I've seen an episode of Criminal Minds. Ooh.
Yeah, I was Bones in CSI. So
which names? Or should I guess I could Google it
Well,
afterwards.
there are other Easter eggs in there. So if you go through it, and I mean, Cash has one of the names. His last name.
Okay. How did you guys come up with this story? Like, what was your, were you guys talking one day? Was it based on your love of crime shows? What inspired the story?
Well, I can tell you, for me, it started when Sarah kept bugging. When I had said something, there was something I needed to take a few days off and I needed to read, and Sarah had been bugging me to read the Mindfuck series.
Ooh, I love it.
First of all, I kept going, I love the fact that it was called the Mindfuck series. And so I said, yeah, okay, fine. And I said, all right, I'll take, an evening and I will read. Well, an evening turned into basically an all-nighter where I read all 4 books or 5 books, however many books there are, just back to back to back to back. And I freaking loved them. I loved everything about how she did it. I loved everything about the story. And then I was like, I really want to write a serial killer RH now at some point. And Sarah goes, you absolutely have to do that. And then I started bugging Blake to read the books. And eventually she read them and she's like, I really want to write your serial killer RH with you too. And we just started talking about it from there. And we were talking about it all the way through writing Taste of Karma.
Oh, wow. So for a long time.
Oh yeah. We've been planning this since, the beginning of like, I don't know, end of last year, beginning of this one.
Oh, wow. Well, it must be so exciting for it to come out in a couple of days then. Well,
yeah, because I wrote I think the very first pages on it were written in April when I was still high on pain meds. So, had a lot of fun with that. There are pieces in there when we would go back, when we were doing the editing, I could tell you exactly the parts that I had written while high. Because we would double up on our references. And there's a scene in there with cheese, and Blake caught this when she was doing the read through, how much cheese kept coming out. There was a cheese on the table, there was a cheese platter in the kitchen, there was a cheese that he was chopping up. Like, how much cheese are they gonna eat?
Fix that. So as people read it, there won't be cheese just laying all over the place. He won't be continually carrying around a block of cheese.
I kind of wish that was still in it.
Well, no, it would have been like the big block of cheese day from the West Wing or something, with how much cheese we had in this one scene. But it was just, you could just literally, you could really tell where I'd been writing while I was high on the pain meds for my back versus when we got later, when we were both writing more steadily instead of in fits and starts, because it smoothed out completely, because we really do flow back and forth really easily with each other. And it's not a huge modification in styles.
Yeah, I read your foreword, and you said that you co-wrote it in a way where it wasn't like one of you did one character and the other one did another one, because that's always how I kind of envisioned co-writing, because then you get that different voice. I'm not a writer, so I don't know. But so I was reading it and I couldn't tell. I'm just a reader, but I couldn't tell a difference of who
Yeah, there are
was
only 2
writing what.
chapters in the whole book that where Blake wrote one chapter and I wrote another, and then we both, tweaked it for the other one when we were done. And that was mostly because she was going camping for like 4 days and was going to be like off the grid. So, and then I wrote my chapter like the first night she was gone, and she's like, "What the hell?"
And not even pulled into the campground yet. And Heather's like, "My chapter's done," and I'm like,
"Yep."
So do you guys set up like a timeline? Like, okay, you're gonna like deadlines, kind of like Heather, you're writing a chapter and then or like, how does it work? Do you guys Zoom together and you're just typing, or are you like, I came up with this scene and I wrote it, and then like, here, you take it from here? Like, how does this work?
Is it like, surprise, this is what's happening?
Well, actually, surprise happens way more than you might think. In fact, Blake loves doing that to me. She likes dumping me right in the middle of this shit and going, "Have fun." So I leave her in the middle of sex scenes. It's a lot of fun there too.
Yes, I was just gonna say that she drops me in the middle of like an anal scene every time.
Nice.
She's like, "Here."
Well, I'm looking at it this way. It's like we play this game of who can leave the other one in the worst situation. But no, really and truthfully, what happens, at least, and this has been since we started when we wrote Kiss of Fate. We originally said, okay, well, you'll write 500 words and then I'll hit to say tag, and I'll write 500 words, and it's not always exact.
Okay.
Sometimes it'll be like 700, and in my case sometimes it was 2,000, and I would get in trouble because I would like overdo it, and I'm like, I get carried away, and she's like, no shit. Anyway, hopefully cussing on the podcast is not a big deal. Anyway, but we would do that, and it would just literally be, I would write my bit, say tag, and when she was available she would do hers, because our schedules don't always mesh, because like she has a real job. I mean, I have a real job too, but my real job is here. So I can write, I'm pretty much a little more available than she is. And then when we were doing longer and longer segments, or conversely, like there was one time when I was like, she was tagging and I'm like, you go ahead and do the next part because I'm not going to get to it. Or for whatever reason, there was something, and we did that a couple of times. Or if the other one knew, like, I really want to do this, and oh yeah, let's really do this, then we would just go ahead and do that. But for the most part, we had a loose plan.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my dog, I'm gonna have to get up and let my dog out in a second because she's decided she's gonna serenade me. We had a loose plan for what we were doing, but our loose plans tend to be very flexible.
Okay.
A loose, flexible plan.
I will add, I'm proud of this, I have gotten Heather onto spreadsheets. So but this out. So when we started talking about it, I was like, oh, we need a spreadsheet. So we have like this Google Doc where we have it separated by tabs for like the bones of the story, the characters, inspiration pictures. And I've gotten Heather on this. So she's doing this for things that she's not working with me on, because it just need to keep things. And it was like, oh, we want to mention this. Let's drop it in the spreadsheet so we don't forget. Or, oh, like here's something that needs to be fleshed out at some point. Like, let's drop this in. And also,
here's the description of so-and-so, so we don't change their eye color 15 times and figure out what the hell is their eye color again.
Right. But also, like, as I'm driving, I would call Heather too, and we would just chat about the story and giggle incessantly about where it's going. And honestly, it surprised me, and I think Heather can agree, because we're like, oh yeah, this is going to be like so dark, and then we're like through like half of the story, and we're like, how did that happen?
Well, I don't think we could write anything that isn't funny, and we end up cracking each other up, and then we're giggling while we're writing it. And I'm like, there's an old adage that used to say, there's no tears in the author, there's no tears in the reader. But a lot of times authors will laugh at the things that readers don't find funny. And so far, that doesn't seem to be the case. The only person who's actually said she didn't find it funny was the one who said she thought we could get away with murder, which I thought I was very impressed with us on that. So
we found it very humorful. That's what I love. It's like a dark, funny, it's like a dark, lighthearted story at the same time.
It really is. Yeah. And like I was telling Megan, we feel like we read dark romances. So we were like, it wasn't gory. It wasn't bad. It wasn't nightmare inducing. I was like, I found it a very pleasant read. I really enjoyed it. I liked the the hunting and all of her things that she did. I liked how the guys were like okay with it and how that came about. And I love that it's like a slow burn with the relationship, even though I'm like dying to find out how this is all gonna, the
Well, you
dynamic
do,
gonna
well, I'm
happen.
not going to say that part. That's a spoiler. All right.
No, say it.
Heather's teasing you.
I need to know about my favorite Cash. I
Mhm.
love his chapters. I just found his whole hunt, his whole search interesting. I was like looking for clues there. The fact that, his father had worked on, the case chasing her father. My prediction is that like at the end it's him, he's clapping, and that he's like secretly on, well, I guess I forgot to mention the network, which I think is a very brilliant concept and I really love. My theory is maybe he's like tapping into this. He knows there's bad entities and he's like secretly crazy himself and he's like in love with her, and maybe they've crossed paths before, and I just, that's my theory. Sarah has another theory.
Yeah, so Megan and I both think that at the end it's Cash who shows up. I'm not positive, but I'm like 90% think it's him. There's like 10% it could be somebody else that also knows her. Because it could be all part of her plan for this person to show up. I don't know. It doesn't seem right. Anyways, but I do with Cash, I was thinking that he's falling in love with her as he's tracking her. He's already said that she's fucking amazing, watching that one video of her at the bar and like other things where he's like, I just know it's her. So I feel like he's gonna, because he has that eye to find the puzzles in these crime scenes, and he's gonna see how she works and how she gets away with this stuff, he's going to really admire it, and that's how he's falling in love with her. And I hope I'm right, because I love being right.
And you did mention though that you thought that maybe did you thought maybe Fletcher would?
So I think that Fletcher is going to sneak up on him while he's talking to her, and he's going to hit him right with a crowbar, and she's going to decide to take him back to the house as like a hostage. And that's how it's going to be more of he's held captive, and that's how their relationship's going to evolve into something, because she's going to get to know him, and there's going to be something there that she sees in him that they're going to end up part of the group.
I think that's a good theory too. So
They keep a neutral expression.
I know. I'm like, and
Well,
Heather
the neutral
was
expression
away
the whole
for
time.
part of it too, which was smart.
Well, I
Smart
had
on
to
Heather.
deal with the dog because I didn't want her going off any louder than she already was.
Yeah.
So I opened my door and shoved her out and closed the door behind her.
Mhm.
Anyways, but I do love Cash. His character, I liked his POVs. I mean, I like all of them. I love, Megan and I have talked about this in a couple of our podcasts, but we just love different POVs.
Mhm.
And when his voice, I like his thing, and I'm intrigued to find out.
Yeah, I
Well,
love
he
that.
was always at one side of the story too. That was a
Mhm.
lot of fun for us to do because he's seeing everything that's going on through an entirely different lens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I really love that whole, the criminal cop aspect, which kind of, brings us back to like the Mindfuck series, which I loved that. That was amazing. I have great hopes and wishes for Cash. I can't wait to see where it goes with him, because it's like the whole story you're like reading, you're thinking, how is he going to end up part of the harem? He's going to be part of the harem. Like there's no, in my mind, there's no way he's not.
Like how she's very determined here. Okay.
I agree. He has to.
He's willing it
If he's
into
not,
reality.
I'll be shocked. What if you turn him into a villain and then introduce a new guy? I think you'll make my head explode. But I mean, I wouldn't put it past you guys. Oh my gosh, is that what you're gonna do?
So my question is, I mean, do you have a favorite? I'm assuming you probably don't have a favorite character because you guys created them. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, Vienna's my favorite.
Yeah.
I love her. I love writing her. I like writing the guys too, but I love her because she's very different from most of my other characters, which is always fun for me.
She's so different. Yeah.
I mean, everything from her reactions to her upbringing to her background, it's not, I don't know what's the right word for it, but she's not going to always be socially acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Because the conditioned responses you have from normal interactions, she does not possess. So it's a lot of fun for that. Yeah. I also kind of like how she enters a room.
I agree. What about you, Blake?
I don't really have a favorite. I do love Vienna, but my favorite changes. It just depends on who we're writing and what they're doing, and it will just continually change. So the answer is no, I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. But we were having fun with Fletcher when we write Fletcher. We have a lot of fun with Merrick when we write Merrick. And Cash is always entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Well, the way Fletcher talks, he's a smooth operator, isn't he?
Yeah. But sometimes I'm like, dude, calm it down a little bit. Like, we got it. Like, just calm it down. But then I love how he has two sides, and he's shown Vienna that, like, where he's like super flirt, and then he's just like calm and like, okay, I'm just gonna hang out. Like, I love that they're already comfortable enough that he can turn that off, and then he turns it back on, and he'll just say something, and I'm like, I love it.
One of my favorite.
I was going to say, I love his movie references. You'd already mentioned that, Sarah, but at the end where he's like, he thinks he's freaking like Gazer Beam or something. But yeah, he's such a movie buff, and I love to see that come out in all of his like internal monologue and commentary. So
yeah.
Oh, I love it. Definitely.
They're all eccentric in a different way.
I mean, they all have to be, right, for the type of writing.
So would you say this is a book full of, well, eccentric, maybe not psychos, but just characters that are kind of outcast to society?
A little bit.
Yeah, you could look at it that way.
I'm shaking my head, yes. Like, I'm answering for you too. I'm like, yeah.
I might be trying to get information on Cash with that question.
Well, and my question about Cash is, I don't know if you can answer it, because like he's talked about the FBI and he's run across, part of me is wondering if he's like in trouble with the FBI, like how maybe he works for the FBI, or like, is he like, sometimes it sounded more like he was like more like not in trouble with them. Like he's obviously worked for them at some point, but sometimes I'm wondering if he's a little more not rogue, but like retired and still doing it, but they don't know. Well, no, that doesn't make sense. Never mind. Ignore me.
Case, right? It's not his case, right? This is like his like passion case. That's what I kind of got from it.
Right.
Like that. Is that?
Well, yeah, but then like, dude, with the FBI, do you get? I mean, you get assigned cases.
Right? Yeah.
So
depending on what department you're in and what you're doing.
I'm like just trying. I think because it's so like, I'm just trying to find.
I think you'll get more answers about Cash in the next book.
Okay.
Oh, we want them so much. My theory is that he's a little rogue in his investigate. Like, this is not his case. This is was his father's, and it's like a passion case. I guess we'll see. I do want to mention that scene before I forget. It's Fletcher. It's one of my favorite, where he's drunk and he says, the first time that you see my you know what, I don't want you to be helping me like go to the bathroom. That I died at that scene. I cracked up. Who wrote that? That was amazing.
Well, we wrote it.
You both wrote it together. Well, I was just curious.
We wrote it. Well, that's how we do it. We don't actually, we basically wrote it. So, and there are times when I go back and read some of the, like if I go back and I'm looking at Taste of Karma, I can't always remember what she wrote and what I wrote.
Okay.
I died at that. That was hilarious. I just wanted to know if any of you had a experience like that in your life, if that came from real life, like with a guy. Like, have you ever had to help a guy that drunk? No,
not drunk.
Just me.
No, I've never had to help a guy that was that drunk. Nope.
No.
I had to help a guy that was sick but not drunk.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Trust me, I don't know a drunk guy. Anyway.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever done that either. It did crack me up though, how he was like thinking he covered himself, but he's like, in hindsight, it's like that was probably my belly button.
Yeah. I love that.
Oh,
I love that.
That was
I like that he
hilarious.
was embarrassed about it too.
It's
Owned it.
He did.
How did you two first meet?
I don't know. I think Heather's a pro at telling this story.
Oh, well, it's easy. She was, I was editing for Rebecca Royce. I've edited her for years. She recommended another author to me to edit, was Laura Swanson. And when I was editing Laura recommended Blake reach out to me because she'd already put out her first book. And then I started editing for her and pretty much just adopted her and kept her that way.
It was really funny because so Laura and I were baby authors together. Like we had met at the very beginning of our author career. And I didn't know anyone. So I just found this random like editing company online. And she's like, no, you need to use Heather. Like she's great in the art space. Like you'll really love her. And she's like, but listen, she's gonna make you cry. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so, like I go through like comments and Heather, like in the beginning, like Heather totally ripped me apart. But I have like such a weird reaction to things that I think is different from like typical people. So where other people would have cried, I like giggled crazily because the way that Heather would put it in the comments, I'm like, how did I even put that on paper that way? Like that was not what I was trying to say.
But yeah, that's pretty much how we met. And I tend to be really, and I always tell people when I'm editing, I tend to be very snarky. I'm sorry, it's just who I am. And if I'm doing things where I'm like, oh, this is a misplaced modifier, you know, this is what you're actually saying. And it's usually something really freaking hilarious because it's not, I mean, I know what you meant. And almost everybody would know what you meant, but this is what you said. So for those grammar, you know, the few people out there who are really going to get the grammar part, you do need to fix it for this. And then, but yeah. And then she wrote Astrid, and I loved Astrid. And then she left me hanging freaking ever for book 4 that I still don't have yet.
And
I'm rereading book 4 right now, so I can send it to her.
I love Astrid as well, and I'm so excited for book 4 and 5.
Well, and Astrid's the reason everybody got Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
What? Can you repeat that, Heather?
Astrid is the reason everyone got Frankie.
She is?
Yeah, because there was a game that Blake was playing in one of the groups, and I don't remember which group it was in, but I sent her my answer. I said, I am not posting this, but I sent my answer. And she said, that would make a great book. And I just said, yeah, sure it would. And went off and did my thing. And like, but it kept coming back up round and round and round. And then I ended up writing Frankie.
That's
so
amazing.
You can thank Blake for that.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you so much.
All right. That is like one of my big successes in life. And if you read her forewords in the first book, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but Heather mentions that in the foreword of the first book, but that was the inception of Frankie. And I remember us talking about it and I was like, that would be such a good RH. You need to write it. And Heather's like, ha.
I did it. That's funny because I will recommend that to people looking for books that are like Frankie. I'll recommend Astrid. So that's funny how that worked out. I love that.
And then she didn't even realize it till like book 4 that one of Jake's sisters is named Blake. And she's like, oh wait, I'm in there. You've been in there for 4 books.
4 books. That's too funny.
Just didn't dawn on me that it was like
the other Blake. You were thinking it was the other Blake.
That's really funny. So, sorry, so you started out editing for Blake. So, okay, when did it just get to you became friends, like you adopted her and so you two started talking and that's how you started co-authoring together? Was it just like ideas? Because is Blake, Heather, is Blake the only person you co-authored with, and is Heather the only person?
I co-authored. Yeah, I co-authored. There you go. I co-authored with Rebecca Royce. I've done one book.
Oh, you have?
With her.
Okay. Yeah. And is this
I don't think I've co-authored with them. I don't think I've co-authored with anybody else off the top of my head. No, I don't think so. It's just me and Blake, and then me and Rebecca.
Okay. And then Blake, have you co-authored with any other authors?
No, Heather will probably be my only like co-author.
over. See, now you're doing it.
Heather's messing me up. Co-author ever. And largely, well, two reasons. One, because I love writing with Heather and we have great chemistry when we write together. Two, between like life obligations and trying to work on projects, there's just like not enough time in the day to try and jump so many projects. But so Heather's it for life. She can't get rid of me.
Aw, you guys seem to mesh so well. It works. It definitely works. After Kill Song, do you plan on like continuously co-writing with each other, like after each co-write?
Mm-hmm.
We actually have 2 more series after this one that we have lined up.
Awesome.
Can
We
you
kind of
tell
have like
us if they're PNR or contemporary or reverse harem or MF?
everything I'm writing is going to be RH. But I have been in a really heavy contemporary kick, and my following is contemporary too, pretty much. But Heather can't get rid of me, and I think we'll always be forever co-writing. And we've even tossed the idea of doing like series in the same worlds type thing.
Oh, I know what series you're just talking about. There you go. Okay, that reminded me. Like what other series did we wedge in there? Now I know what you're talking about.
Did you like that? Did you like the way I sprinkled that in there?
That was like, wait,
there was a hint. Same world. I'm gonna keep that in my
same world. They are, but they are, and we aren't going to actually co-write them, but we will at the same time. It's really hard to explain. You'll see.
But we're so excited about it.
That's a good teaser. That's a good teaser. Oh, well, I'm so excited.
You can. I will tell you that here's one thing I can tell you about Killsong.
Okay.
It is related to one of my other series.
Only one of your other series?
Well, I'm not going to tell you that part, as it is related to one of my other series.
Okay.
I'm going to keep my mouth quiet, but I have theories.
You can ask me your theories later, but yes, it is. There are some Easter eggs in there for the people who are looking for them, right? Some of them won't be as clear as they will be to others.
I'm going to have to do more rereads just for Easter egg. I'm going to call them Easter egg rereads.
So here's the thing that I love about Heather's writing and what I like to think that I've tried to do. Probably not as good as Heather, but I'm trying. I'm working on it. But when we say that we're like talking about book series that we are like planning in advance in like years, like you probably will read some of our series that come out in a couple years and go back and reread other series and pick up on Easter eggs that you don't recognize are Easter eggs now.
Right.
They're future Easter eggs.
There's nesting dolls in there.
So you have Easter eggs for the series that are going to come out like 5 years from now. Like they're
I can tell you, for example, if there's probably bits and pieces in Killsong where if you were doing a reread in like 3 or 4 years, you'd be like, wait a minute, because of some other series that is now out. There's stuff that's foreshadowing things that we haven't released or written yet.
I love that. That's exciting. That's fun.
So if I went and read one of your series, there would be hints for Killsong?
So she's saying,
actually,
like, in like 2025.
There's a hint for one of the characters in Killsong in one of the other books that you have already read.
Oh.
In one of the books that I have already read.
Yes, one of the books that you have already read. And that is all I'm going to tell you.
My mind is a little blown, and it's a good thing that I like to reread your books. I'm gonna find it. I vow today. I vow today I will find it. And I want to cook you when I do.
Yeah, I love the interweaving. It just makes it makes the reader experience so much richer.
Yes.
For each experience when I read other authors' work. Especially others.
Well, as readers, we love all those things that you weave into the stories. We love being able to theorize. We love all these little details. So thank you.
I like it when like a whole world is created. It's like and that's what you're doing. When you have one series, it's these characters, but then there's just it's a world now, and it's like you feel like everybody, and I don't know. I love it.
Invested, right?
I will end up doing the thing where I write, I'm like, God damn it, now they need a book.
I love when you do that. That's the best, though. That's the best.
Not for me. No, actually, I do enjoy it to a certain extent, but there's another part of me that's over here going, really? Can't you just feel? No, okay, fine.
Heather, who reins you in? You rein everyone else in. Who's reining you in, Heather? Nobody.
Nobody.
Is that what the problem is? Blake, are you reining her in?
No.
No, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible wrangler. In real life,
Yeah,
in
I
the
think Sarah is
world.
probably the biggest one who will tell me no if I need to be told no. And usually it's because I will call her and I will say, just tell me no. And she's like, okay, what am I telling you no about? And then I'll tell her the whole thing. And she's like, God, that sounds amazing. And then I'll sit there and go, and she's like, I'm working on it. Give me a second.
Thank you to everyone listening, and thank you to Heather and Blake for talking to us about Killsong and your writing and everything else. It was fun to chat.
Thank you so much for joining us. It was amazing chat. Yay. So fun.
Thank you
Thanks for
for
having
having
us.
us.
We're
It was
excited.
fun.
Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
joining us.
At the Bookover podcast.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
See you
Thanks
next
for
time.
listening.
Bye.
Bye.